Brian, we got everybody back so far, you think?
Topper and RAL were on there. Freelander, I see your note.
back.
I'm getting it.
All right,
Freelander.
got you, Matt.
Perfect.
I think everyone just got booted from the Zoom, so it may take a minute.
All right.
All right, there's Topper. Sorry about that, people. I don't know what's going on.
Zoom just kick everybody out.
Annabelle, you about ready over there?
Yeah, I think we got everybody, Brian.
Cool.
Yeah, everybody's back in, it looks
All
like.
right, perfect.
And everybody should have record.
All right, we'll let Coach start and then we'll go around and take questions.
All right. Starting with a recap of our game with Furman. First, just want to say thank you again to our students and the band and the donors and our fans and the recruits and everyone that came and supported our team and our staff, you know, all the players' families. It was a great night. A lot of times when you play, you know, an FCS team, your fan base doesn't support that. And I thought it was awesome that they just embraced the opportunity to come support the Wolfpack players. And it was a great environment. It was loud, it was fun. And so thank you to that and look forward to, you know, the next opportunity to play at home here this weekend with you. We came out of the game healthy. We were able to play a lot of guys and get valuable reps, which is always really important for the development of your roster and gives us a chance to see guys when the bullets are flying and see how they're going to play. I thought we played complementary football very well, something we didn't do the week before, something we really want to be able to do. What I mean by that is, you know, the offense playing off of what the defense does for them or vice versa, the special teams setting up that side of the ball. And then the fourth phase of that is the energy your sideline brings your team. And I felt like our sideline had really good passion. The guys were into the game. They were watching the players that play their positions and communicating with them when they came off the field. It's a 4-phase thing. It's offense, defense, kicking game, and that sideline passion. And so thankful to all, you know, that we got to see that. There were 8 sequential series in the game where I felt like the defense set up the offense or special teams play set up the offense, and we scored on those drives. You know, as a team, we had 3 penalties, 2 pre-snap and 1 blindside block, but we can't have, you know, both the pre-snap penalties are foolish penalties that we need to eliminate. You know, we are better in these areas than we've been, but we want to be perfect in these areas, things that we control. So, you know, things we can work on. You know, on offense, just the positives of the game. I thought Devin managed the game well. He was very accurate. He spread the ball around. He made some plays on his feet. It was good to see him do that, extend some drives with his feet. And I thought we connected on the deep ball. It was good to see him and Anthony Smith get one down the field. You know, we moved our tight end around a lot. All the tight ends played physical football for us. I was super excited to see Dylan Parham get his first touchdown. Gad's been here 6 years and means a lot to us in the run game. He's always been a really physical component. And so I was glad to see him get a touchdown. It was awesome for him. You know, I felt like the perimeter was very physical. You know, some of our receivers who have been, I think, competed and battled and fought for each other. And we did a good job with the exception of 2 times in the game of throwing it out there when we should, using the numbers to our advantage. You know, I thought we caught the ball well as a team and made plays we need to make. And the running backs, it was good to see those guys not just run well, but block well. You know, I thought, you know, Ricky had 2 really good blocks when he was in the game. Not just on a run play, he had a nice cut block when Bam got the ball on a sweep, but he also had, you know, some really good pass protection. I really liked the score before the half, you know, getting a touchdown there, getting the ball back, using our timeouts the right way. In the red zone, I felt like we played better football offensively. And they were a team that blitzed a lot, and obviously we're going to see a ton of that here this week. But we limited them to only one play in our backfield, gave up 0 sacks. And really the play we gave them, if Devin reads it right, we throw the ball out to our field screen that we have, and it doesn't matter how many guys were in the box. So, negatives, we fumbled again, and we can't do that. I think it's something that Bam will fix. And obviously, he did a great job after that drive of protecting the ball. And we stalled, when our backups came in on offense, I felt like we stalled a couple times and could be cleaner there. Defensively, just really proud of the way they played. It's hard on defense in today's world. You play Mike Leach the second week, and then the next week you play the triple option. And that's a lot on these guys in a 4-day window where you're getting them ready. And we had 7 straight 3-and-outs. They had nobody rush for 100 yards or less than 3 yards a carry. Guys were playing fundamental football. They were very disciplined. We didn't give up any, tough option passes that you can see. I thought our D-line did a good job of gap control. They played on their feet. They beat cut blocks. They were disruptive. And we were very good on third down. And the biggest thing was just the maturity, the adjustments. There's a lot of things that they did not put on tape prior to our game that we had to adjust and use our rules. And guys did that. And that's the sign of a mature football team. Negatives, we gave up a touchdown in the red zone on a skinny post route that we shouldn't have given up. We should be inside leverage on that play and not allow that to happen. And we missed some opportunities. We had 2 dropped interceptions and a ball on the ground that Savion was close to recovering and didn't. And those are things as a team we've got to embrace and take advantage of. You don't get many in a game where the quarterback throws it where you can catch it, and we got to cash them in. Now, on special teams, I was really proud of how Trent Gill bounced back with his kickoff locations and distances. Had good hang time on his punts. Joe Shimko, our long snapper, had his second open field tackle of the season, and that's hard to do, to snap a ball 14 yards, to protect at times, cover and tackle a guy in space. Says a lot about him. I think he's really, really a very good player at his position, if not the best player in the country as a long snapper. But Chris Dunn was automatic, and there's room to improve. I think our punt returns did some good things with there, and the guys setting up blocks for him. If we eliminate the penalty, we're over 100 yards in the game on punt return yards. Our kickoff return, we had 1 opportunity, and it could have been a house call. We had 2 guys not get their job done, and you don't get the what ifs or the almosts in special teams. You get 1 snap, and it better be right on the money if you want to make a good play. And so that'll be good film for us to learn from. And now we get to play, the best team in our league over my period here at NC State. We all know they've done a great job, and Dabo and his staff have built a dominant program. They're well coached. They do it right on and off the field. And they're bringing, one of the top 5 defenses in college football to Carter Finley. They've only given up 7 points a game, and their defensive front is very, very tough. They're impressive, good players, good rotation of players. They're physical. They bring a lot of pressure. They mix up their front looks. They are running probably more line stunts than I've seen them run, and rundowns to kind of chop it up in the run game. But offensively, they've got good size and speed. Their receivers are big guys that can run. Their tailbacks, they got a good rotation there. Quarterback, is a big dude, and he's got a live arm, and you can see he's not afraid to run the football and use his body. And they use him, in short yardage. They use him in the red zone. Games like this, a lot can be made of the matchups. To me, this is more about us in this game, and we just need to do what we did last week and in the first week against much, much, much better competition. But we need to focus on doing our job. We need to focus on our fundamentals. We need to focus on our eyes, on our strain, on our finish, respecting the game of football and playing it one play at a time, and not letting the momentum swings in the game bother us. Just managing our opportunities and responding to adversity when it happens, and creating more plays than they create. At the end of the day, that's how you win these games. It's one play or one player that has to step up at key moments. and I'm excited for the opportunity. You know, anytime you get to play a team like this, that's been the gold standard in our league, it's a great opportunity for your football team. And so look forward to it. And more than anything, just being a part of what our team's doing. They're really focused in on, you know, playing one rep at a time right now. Aside from the game, this is Pack United week for our student athletes in our campus. And I think it's really, really important part of what's going on, not just at NC State, but in our country. And really proud of our student athletes and Isaiah and Grant for when this began a year ago, and the things that they've taught me and taught our staff and brought our team closer together, and celebrating our diversity and celebrating our differences and loving each other for them. So very proud that these guys are doing that this week, and look forward to that being a part of what happens on our campus throughout the week. And with that, I'll open it up for any questions.
All right, Jonas, you want to start us off?
Yep. Good afternoon, Coach. You mentioned in your opening statements about their defensive front and how they're doing more stunts and twists than you've seen in the past. And then you just mentioned Grant. How big of a week is this for a guy like your center to make sure he sees everything and calls out all the alignments to kind of make sure you guys counter what they do up front?
Well, it's a big week for our O-line. You know, our tight ends, our backs, all those guys that have to block this front. But yeah, you line up with number 11 across from you, and just watching that guy play. He's a stud, you know, 13, Tyler Davis and Xavier Thomas and Miles Murphy. They got a good D line, man. Those guys are really good. And, you know, it's going to be a battle in there. And so, yeah, our fundamentals are going to come into play. We got to play very fundamentally sound. We're not going to be perfect on every call. Like, they're going to have some things, you know, they're good at showing things one side, bringing it the other. So they're going to get us at times because they're going to call good defenses. We're going to get them at times. And like I said, we just got to manage the disruption. We got to make sure we're not putting ourselves in bad down and distances as much as possible. And our line they can't try to be perfect. They just need to play fast and be physical.
As a quick follow-up, a guy like Grant, his ability to process things, I guess, as the clock is winding down and relay that information. How good is he at that? Not just in these big games, but since he's been here the last couple years at center.
Yeah, I mean, he's very smart. He understands football. He's a student of the game. He communicates well with Coach Garrison and Coach Beck, and you know, he does his best to make sure he puts his guys in the best, you know, situation he can. And I think sometimes maybe tries to be too perfect. You know what I mean? Like, in a game like this, there's a lot of looks when you play Clemson. There's lots, and there's going to be looks they don't show. They'll have new looks for us, and they do a good job of setting things up. So he's just got to understand, hey, here's the percentages. Here's what we're calling. Now go play fast and play with great technique and strain.
Ty Gibson.
Yeah, Dave, your defense has been pretty good this year as well. I mean, what is it specifically that's made this defense, and you're missing two starters too, that's gotten you guys off to such a good start? What have they been doing right that has gotten them so successful this season?
You know, I think there's a combination of things. One, they're playing for each other. I think you're seeing 11 guys play unselfish football. And they're not concerned about the scheme. They're not concerned about the play call. They're concerned about playing hard for each other and playing with better technique than the guy across from them. And that usually equates to success. Second thing is there's game experience in that group. They've seen a lot on the field, and that collective experience of playing and being beat on certain things in a game and understanding how a game flows and not pressing when things maybe are not going as expected, or they're running plays you didn't practice because they put new stuff in and that freaks you out. Like, you know, they're calm, they're poised, they communicate well, and they take coaching on the sideline. Our coaches are able to make adjustments, and the kids listen and understand them and go to the field, and it shows.
Schnicker.
Dave, it seemed like Porter Rooks was somebody that you guys got a little bit more involved in this game. Do you feel like he's somebody with his skill set that's able to raise the ceiling of this offense a little bit with his speed?
Yeah, I do. I think we look at Porter as a starter. You know, he's one of our top receivers. And not to his fault, to our fault. He didn't play enough in the Mississippi State game. We told him that after the game. Joker, owned that right away, and he's earned that. And so, being in rotation with him and Thayer in our 11 personnel stuff, 3 receivers, 1 tight end, 1 back, is something we've been doing. But getting him in the game and some 10 personnel where he and Thayer are in the slots and moving around just puts, another stress on the defense and allows us to get another playmaker in the game.
James.
Yeah, Dave, watching Clemson the first 2 Power 5 games this year, they've been low scoring games. Obviously, I'm interested. How do you balance with your offense trying to make big plays, but also, like you said, kind of taking care of the football and managing penalties and things like that?
Yeah, well, you've got to be aggressive when you want to go make big plays. Like, you can't let them scare you out of trying to force the ball down the field some. I think sometimes that blitz package and that pass rush and the number of plays they make in their front can get you conservative. And you've got to take, the things that are there so you can stay in manageable situations, but you also have to take your shots when they present themselves, and you got to make some plays. In games like this, you got to make some special plays. You just do. I'm not saying trick plays. I'm saying guys going up and jumping up and making a great catch with a body on a body, or diving and laying out. Like, you got to make spectacular plays. You got to make the routine plays routine, but we're going to have to come up with a few plays, and whether it's a deep ball or a run after the catch or a big run, whatever it is, you got to make some of those plays happen with just your ability. And we do have some guys with ability on the perimeter, and so we need them to step up and play well.
Brett.
Hey, Dave, in your opening remarks, you talked about playing through adversity and bouncing back from that quickly. How much easier is that to do at home when you have a supportive crowd like you've had, as opposed to being in a hostile environment like Mississippi State?
Yeah, say it's got to be easier at home. You would think you don't have as many people in your ear, maybe. I didn't feel like Mississippi State's crowd was a negative crowd towards our team. Like, they were actually very respectful. They're loud, the cowbells and all that, but they're not a team that, there's some places you go where the whole game you're getting MF'd from their sideline to your bench, like the whole game. And that's not how that game was. So I don't feel like that hurt us, in that game. It was loud, don't get me wrong, but it was, if you're at home and your fans are behind you and they're encouraging your players and telling them to keep their head up and all that, that helps. That's good to have for those guys' psyche. But more than anything, the players just got to understand that the play's over. Like, the next play is what matters. That's it. And we have to embrace that. Everybody talks about being 1-0. Well, 1-0 means next play. That's it. Whether you did well or you didn't do well, you got to go to the next one. And not that you forget what happened, you learn what happened, but you've got to know that on the next play, you could change the game, and you could change it good or bad, and so it's something that our guys have learned over time. Some players have to fail before they get it. Some players can learn through other players and watching them fail. And that's what we try to teach. We try to use a lot of teachable moments with our team so that you're talking to one, you're talking to all, and guys can learn from each other on that.
Thanks a lot.
Yep.
Joe.
Hey, Coach. The defense obviously provided great pressure to the quarterback so far, but it has only resulted in 2 sacks. How important is to maybe turn some of those pressures into sacks this week against an offense that has surprisingly struggled with Clemson?
Sacks are great, especially sack fumbles. We'll take as many of those as we can get. But the bottom line is we're forcing incompletions and interceptions and 3 and outs, and those are good too. If we weren't getting sacks and we weren't getting off the field on 3rd down and we were giving up a lot of points, I'd be really worried about it, but that's not what's happening. Quarterbacks are not having success throwing the football against our defense, or at least they haven't. And so is there pressure? Are we forcing them to throw on time, off schedule? Are they inaccurate? All those things. When you watch the game the other day, there was a lot of hits on the quarterback right when the ball was being thrown. Those add up too. those quarterback hurries or pressures or whatever you call them. But from a down and distance standpoint, those sacks are great because it gets them behind the chains. And, anytime you can have a backfield bomb go off, there's going to be times where those turn into fumbles for us. So we'd love to get a few more of those.
Mike Tober.
Hey, good afternoon, Coach. As far as Clemson, I'm sure you watched that Georgia game, and I was wondering, did you watch any of the tape from Georgia Tech yesterday? And if so, did you pick out anything that they did? I think that game was a lot closer than people may have thought it would be. Were you able to take away anything if you were to watch it that they did successfully that you might be able to integrate against Clemson?
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of similarities defensively. Georgia Tech played, a 3-3-5 structure, which is what we play. They don't normally do that. So I think they caught Clemson off guard a little bit. Their preparation was probably for 4 down. And they got into that game and played a lot of 3 down, 3 safety defense. So, that film is obviously good film for us because there's similar schemes that are played. I thought Georgia Tech did a nice job. They hung in the game. They got off the field. They pressured the quarterback. They didn't give up big plays. They were very competitive. They had a chance to tie the game at the end. And, Skalski made a hell of a play on 4th down on the goal line to keep them from getting in on that little shovel play. But, yeah, we watch every game. I went home from our game against Furman and turned on the Georgia Tech Clemson TV copy to watch the game before I went to bed. So, that's what we do is study film and learn everything we can about our opponents.
Aaron.
Hey, Dave, you've had 5th-year seniors and older guys on teams before. This year's a little different throughout college football with super seniors, 6-year guys. You have a 7th-year guy. I'm curious, is there any way you address the team differently in terms of, you have a wider range of ages, I guess, in that regard now, and it's probably going to be that way for a while. And is there an asset to those extra years that maybe you don't get even with a 5th-year guy before?
Yeah, I think, when we have our older players talk during training camp at night, they'll get up and, give advice and talk about things they've learned over time. And you got guys like Dylan Parham, been here 6 years, Tyrone 7, CJ Riley 6. There's wisdom in that. And those guys have been good about talking to their teammates. They've been very positive influences in our locker room. But yeah, it's the most unique roster that you'll have, not just here, but across the country right now of what you're talking about, age, experience, stories, probably for you guys media wise. Like usually a kid doesn't stick around 6 or 7 years if there wasn't some adversity in his career that created that. So there's some good backstories there to what's going on. And like I said, with Dylan Parham, it's been here a long time. He's played a lot of football. For him to finally score a touchdown, that was, in my opinion, that was why he came back. He wanted to have something like that happen. That was awesome for that kid. So, but yeah, it's unique. And as far as I can tell, it'll be hard to have another year like this, where you have that kind of experience on your roster.
To follow up, do you do anything differently with how you address, a team that has maybe even the older than you're used to guys, or you do the same thing you've always done? It's just they're older.
Yeah, I think you have to talk down to the youngest guy in the room all the time. Yeah, Tyrone's heard it a million times, but Anthony Smith hasn't. I got to talk to everybody that could play in the game. And, I know there's monotony in that, but I promise you in NFL locker rooms, there's 38-year-old guys that are hearing the same messages we're talking about with ball security and leveraging the football. And, football is football, and the lessons have to be taught. You can turn on games all the time, and I don't care what level you're at, you see bonehead things happen. You're like, how did that happen? Like, what was that coach doing? Or how can that player not know that? Well, that's why we have these meetings where we talk about the basics over and over and over and over, because it's not that basic when there's 80,000 people screaming at you and the play could mean win or lose. And there's pressure and a guy that's however big, however fast running at you to knock your head off, do it. There's a lot of things these guys have to be able to handle. And so, coaching them to the lowest denominator of experience in the room, I think is very important.
Thanks, Dave.
Yep.
Jonas.
Could you mention their Clemson's quarterback, big kid, 6'4", almost 250 who likes to run. I'm just curious for your scout team this week. How do you simulate that in practice? Do you throw a lineman back there, or does it not matter as much as like their schemes and formations when you guys are going over the scout team stuff?
Yeah, I mean, we'll have quarterbacks back there that can throw it, but we don't tackle our scout team quarterbacks anyway, so it wouldn't matter how big the guy was on the scout team. The bottom line is we need to get the timing of their offense down to the best of our ability. We need to give those pictures and, blocking schemes to our front and our backers and safeties and things like that, and try to simulate, the routes, like the speed of the routes. That's the harder part. Some scout team, you won't have receivers on it that can run like the team that you're about to play. And then you get out there and your guys are, whoa, this guy's fast. I mean, you want that speed to be on them throughout the week. So I think it's more about that than it is anything. And, Aaron McLaughlin's a pretty big kid. He'll come over and help us at times on the scout team to simulate some of the run, quarterback run game stuff that they do.
Gibby?
Yeah, Dave, Clemson has recruited at an elite level through the years, especially lately. Have you guys changed anything to try and keep up with them? Is it good for the ACC to try and catch up with those guys?
Yeah, I mean, we're always competing. We want to compete with everybody, particularly a team that's won the league as many times as they have. I mean, there's certain things until you beat them that you're not going to be able to compete against them with. They've got bragging rights. They've earned that. They've got their facilities the way they are. We have ours the way ours are. We're going to try to generate revenue and make, our facilities as good as we can. But I think it's more about us. Like, they're going to have what they have. They're going to have the coaches they have, the salaries they have, the fans that they have, all of it. Clemson is a very proud place, and they should be. We have to celebrate who we are here, and celebrate our fans and city of Raleigh and what we have to talk about. I think sometimes you get too caught up in comparisons, and, the bottom line is we want to be the best we can be here, and to be the best NC State possible, we have to go out and not beat us and play as hard as we can for each other and see where that puts us.
James?
Yeah, Dave, PFF has you guys graded with 21 missed tackles through 3 games, which is one of the lower figures in the country. I'm interested, is that something that you can target when you're recruiting a player? Do you feel like it's more coached? And also, how important is that going to be in this game with their playmakers?
Yeah, that seems like a lot of missed tackles to me.
Right.
That seems like a lot. I know some of them are on special teams too, but yeah, I mean, when you watch a kid play, body control is a big part of tackling. And so if you see a guy that's an out of control guy, and I think that's where these live evaluations are so important, James. Like last year, we couldn't go to a game and see a guy, and obviously they send you the highlights. There's no missed tackles on those, so you got to watch the game film. But getting out there and seeing them play in person, the live eval, you can't get enough of that. Getting them in camp is huge, where you can put them through drills and see how they handle change of direction, skill work, and reaction skills. But tackling is, other than what a corner has to do, can he cover? Tackling is the number one thing you look for, from a fundamental standpoint with defensive players is, are they going to have the ability to be a good tackler? Not just do they like hitting, because there's a lot of guys that can hit that can't, come to balance and change direction, things like that. Can they handle the game in space? Can they handle the game in a phone booth? All the things that go into it.
Hey, Jonas, you want to finish this up?
Yeah, I just got a follow up off of James's question. Coach, who was the guy when you recruited him, when you brought him on campus, they were already like tackle ready. They had it all down pat, the form, the aggression, the want to. Is there a guy who pops out when you speak about tackling and the guy you recruited to state here in the last few years?
I'd say Drake Thomas is that way. I mean, he was a violent hitter in high school. I told him when I went and watched them play, they played Sanderson that game, and he was knocking the living hell out of people. And I was like, man, this guy's violent, and he's been that way since he got here. He's a contact football player, and he's good in space. He can change his direction. He's under control, and he runs through people. He is one of the better fundamental linebackers I've been around.
All right, everybody. Thank you. Thank you, Coach.
All right. Thank you, guys.